Welcome back to the Milo Yiannopoulos Show. I'm sitting here with the second of two interviews I've done recently with irrepressible, mischievous college Republicans. This is Ariana Rowlands, who is the president of the College Republicans at UC Irvine. Hello, darling.
Hi, Milo.
Thank you so much for joining us. You have been at the center of a gigantic series of controversies recently. Do you want to give us a sort of brief overview of what happened?
Brief? I don't know if I can do a brief one.
You can give us an overview of what happened. We have an hour. Go for it.
All right. Well, we held you June 2nd at UC Irvine to talk a little bit about social justice and how it's cancer.
She's looking at me with a little mischievous glint in her eye. Little. So you get to say these things in my interview that you can't say to Fox.
No, certainly not. So for those people who weren't there were about 200 angry protesters and about 100 police officers, including bomb sniffing dogs, the riot police. The whole deal was there. And, it went off without a hitch thanks to the police, but without the police, the protesters definitely would have disrupted that. So that didn't make administration very happy. They requested to meet with me about 18 days after the conclusion of the social justice is cancer. And during that meeting, they just wanted to talk about a debrief of the event. And I mentioned that Milo Yiannopoulos was coming back. And they said, well, Ariana, I'm not very excited to hear about that.
Okay, you can only imagine how much misery and horror that fills me with hearing that college administrators don't like the sound of me very much. It's a terrible thing for me to hear.
Well, I told them, I said, well, sorry to hear that, but we're going to be doing it anyway. Mm-hmm. And that was that. I go do the rest of my business the rest of the day. And about 4 hours after the conclusion of that meeting, one of my officers receives an email saying, your college Republican chapter has been suspended immediately for an entire year because you didn't file a proof of insurance for the outside security hired for your event.
See, this is how they work, isn't it? They don't want to ban you outright because that would expose them to comment and ridicule and criticism. So instead, they find these slippery ways to undermine and to punish people who want to bring conservative speakers to campus. So, at DePaul, for instance, they landed the students with this huge security bill with a few days to go. And I had to foot the bill myself just so we had security guards who then, of course, did nothing. And with you, they're trying they tried after the fact to punish you for bringing a speaker that they didn't like, whose politics they didn't approve of. And then had the temerity after such a successful event, which was wonderful, by the way. I thought we were great together.
I thought so too.
To then have the temerity to re-invite him because there were so many hundreds of people outside who could not get in to enjoy the show that we want to do it again. We want to do it bigger. We want to do it so everybody can get to hear it. It's remarkable. So you presumably backed down immediately, right? Said sorry to the university, apologized for causing such a fuss, accepted your punishment meekly. Is that what happened?
Absolutely not. I think it's a load of bull. I think their excuse is a load of bull. If it was really a problem, then they would have mentioned that security insurance certificate at that meeting earlier in the day. But what actually happened is they didn't want you to come back. They didn't want you to spread your message to the students at UC Irvine or anywhere else. So they went through and they looked for anything that they could find that would prevent you from coming back again. And we weren't going to have that because we want to be able to express our message, our conservatism, just like anybody else is allowed to express. Mm-hmm. So, all we want is to be treated equally, and they're not doing that. So we fought them. We did. Thanks to your help putting out a bunch of wonderful, wonderful articles. I really personally like the one you put out yourself. That was my favorite.
I did, normally, of course, because I'm busy jet setting all over the place. I'm normally reduced to the status of coordinator these days. I'm barely a functionary at Breitbart. I merely direct people to write things. I barely get time to do anything myself. But I did take time out of my day to write an article about what would happen if UC Irvine took the same approach to other organizations that they taken to you. And my thesis was basically, if you ban the college Republicans because what they said to you was, you can't hold events. You're not banned from campus, you just can't hold events. Well, that's the whole purpose of the society. So it's the same in effect, really, as just banning you. So I said, well, what would happen if they banned, if they said to the Feminism Society, you're not banned, but you can't get fat, have septum piercings, dye your hair blue, or wear disgusting clothes. It would be the same thing as banning feminism on campus. If you were to say to Black Lives Matter on campus, well, you're not banned, but you can't throw your toys out the pram, spread conspiracy theories about white cishet patriarchal superstructures lie to black people or disrupt events and destroy other people's property. They're not banned, but there's not really much point being around if they can't do those things. Anyway, it was a little joke, and it was a little satirical, but we had fun with it, didn't we?
We did. We definitely did. And UC Irvine backtracked several times. The first time was, no. The college Republicans, they're not suspended. They just can't hold meetings, book rooms for meetings, book rooms for events, plan events, or
In other
table.
words, be a society.
Yeah, exactly. So we existed, but our hands and our feet were tied, and we had a gag over our mouth. And
Doesn't sound so bad, but I understand your concerns.
After that, the next thing was they invited me to submit an appeal, which we were never going to do that.
But that's unusual, isn't it, for them to come to you the reason we're going into so much detail on this is I just love to explore, because I want people to understand the extraordinary slipperiness and the length to which these institutions will go to achieve censorship by some other means, by some other name. Because when people say, oh, well, you weren't banned from campus, what are you complaining about? Your free speech hasn't been threatened. Well, there are a variety of different ways that universities hostile to conservative points of view can make life difficult. And at DePaul, for instance, the university administrators told Chicago PD not to intervene when the stage was stormed and somebody snatched a microphone and somebody swung for me and another person on the stage said, just try me, squaring up to me. Sort of, I thought he was going to hit me, and the security and the police officers were instructed by the university not to intervene. These are some of the ways in which universities can sort of machinate against free speech. And I want to go into the details here because I want people to understand what college Republicans, Young Americans for Liberty and Turning Point, all these organizations are up against inviting any conservative speaker, really, not just me. So they first said, your understanding of it was that you were banned, and then they sort of backtracked and said, well, you're not banned, you just can't hold events. And then, weirdly, they invited you to submit an appeal, but they only, presumably, they invited you to submit an appeal after they started to receive negative press coverage. Is that right? Yeah,
well, they received about 700 one-star reviews on their Facebook, then they disabled that. And then people instead took to posting all over their Facebook wall. There was at least 1,000 angry messages from people
awful.
There. I know.
Thoroughly disreputable, terrible behavior that we, of course, in no way endorse whatsoever. Nor did we endorse it when it happened to DePaul, who were never getting their rating back. They had about, so many thousands of people, and DePaul obviously being less tech savvy than UC Irvine. They don't even know how to disable the rating. I don't even know if they've noticed
That's
yet.
Unfortunate for them.
But they've got 1.1 out of 5 stars on Facebook, and that ain't never coming back. That's it now. Anyway, well, they deserve it. I take no pleasure in this, of course, except I take a huge pleasure in it. So they started to get a backlash, not just from the right-wing press that they could presumably have written off as, just the right-wing press.
No, they actually got
from people.
Yes, from people and from left-wingers. The Bernie Sanders Club on campus, the Anteaters for Bernie Sanders, fondly nicknamed Bernie Eaters, came out in support for college Republicans. They demanded that the ban be overturned.
The Bernie Sanders. I just want to be completely clear so listeners get this around their heads because I've never heard of this before. The Bernie Sanders Club came out in support of the college Republicans and said that the university should overturn the ban because it was unfair.
Yes.
That's amazing.
I know a lot of respect to them because while we don't agree on anything politically, not one thing, I think Bernie,
both things. Not even minor things.
Well, I think Bernie doesn't like NAFTA and TPP, so maybe there's that.
Okay.
Maybe.
And maybe Hillary.
Yeah. Well, no, he said he'd vote for her, so not even that. Not even that.
Oh dear.
But
anyway, free speech, however.
Free speech is something we can agree on.
Appears to be one of the things all credit to them. It's a very, very creditable thing that they did.
It is.
Very impressive. And they've continued to support you, haven't they?
Yeah, we will be working together in the future.
Amazing. Well, hopefully, what I would love is for them to stage some, why don't they get their favorite dangerous speaker and you can get your favorite dangerous speaker and have a real debate, the likes of which hasn't been seen on campuses before. We'll talk in a minute about what the plans you and I have, but perhaps separate to that, wouldn't it be nice if universities, which are failing entirely, to my mind, to give people the full range of opinions, the full diversity of intellectual opinion, political thought in, almost any course you care to mention, if the students started saying, well, you're not going to teach us properly, and you're not going to expose us to the best that has been thought and said and written, and you're not going to bring the most interesting, provocative, and thoughtful speakers to campus. We'll do it ourselves. I think it's great. And that sort of
We'll give them an education, the education that they deserve, but they're not getting.
Exactly. I think it's phenomenal. It's so great. And you know, the thing that I really admire about you is you're so fearless and you just don't take no for an answer. And you're still not happy, are you? Because
no.
You may have read the coverage on this, but just to fast forward a little bit, college sent you 2 letters since they've rescinded the ban. They've said you're fine. You can start booking rooms again. They've completely overturned what they did before. Why are you still not happy?
Well, they think it's over with, but it's far from over. We want to make sure something like this never happens again. It happens all over college campuses, not only in California, not only in the UC system, but across the nation. And nobody does anything about it. They win a small battle here, they win something there, and that's the end of it. That's the end of the story. But we're not going to let it go. We're not going to let that happen. We are going to ask UC Regents to release a resolution that says no more discrimination based on political philosophy, not just for conservatives. Not just for Bernie Sanders, but for everybody, for liberal, conservative, not just for campus organizations, but for that student who writes and argues a conservative point in their essay and gets an F on it. That's not going to happen anymore. We're fighting for everybody's rights, not just people who are politically active.
It's extraordinary to hear somebody who has that fire in their belly and you talk like a warrior, you know, like a proper conservative warrior. And so many students, with no disrespect to many people out there with very strongly held beliefs, who nonetheless don't take the fight to the other side. You're one of the colleges I've been to where clearly the college Republicans have backbone and are trying to do something to the system to make it better for the people who come after you.
I just want to make things better. I just want to help make a change that actually has some influence. Nothing like this has ever been done before. There's never been a college or a college system that says no more discrimination against anybody holding a particular political belief.
Yeah.
And everybody has them. Everybody has beliefs. Everybody believes a certain thing. And no particular belief is wrong. You know, it might not be smart. It might not be educated, but it doesn't make it wrong.
It might be wrong, but that's not, I mean, it might be wrong.
It doesn't make it inherently wrong.
But it is not wrong
mean that you
for them
can't
to
believe
speak,
that.
right?
Exactly. Yes. So
yeah.
It doesn't make it inherently wrong. And everybody should be able to speak whatever it is they think and argue for whatever point they want to make and hopefully get a more educated opinion out of that.
And a university surely should be somewhere where we can all agree that more speech is always a good thing.
It should be, but it isn't.
Yeah.
And that needs to change.
So let me just ask you a quick question before we go to break, because you mentioned about students kind of expressing conservative opinions in essays and getting an F. Now, most people at home will find that very shocking. They will think to themselves, well, you know, so I understand and I believe you that the universities are probably being slimy and slippery because they don't want Milo on campus, they don't want Ann Coulter on campus, they don't want Gavin McInnes, you know, those sorts of people, right? Mm-hmm. So they'll put up obstacles in the way. But can it really be true that somebody expressing a conservative point of view will get penalized academically just because they have the wrong political opinions? My experiences on campuses suggest that that's exactly what's happening. What have you seen at UC Irvine to suggest that that's the case?
One of my professors was talking to a student about police officers, and it was a writing class, and she made a comment. She said, well, you know, I don't really like police officers. I think that they're pigs.
Right.
And we were arguing for, it was basically a class about social justice. So when you write that essay,
universities teach these days?
Yeah. I mean, it was about people's rights.
Yep.
So when you write that essay, if you're going to write something that's pro-police, knowing that the person who's grading that essay is very anti-police, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yes.
And some people do that. They write conservative points in their essays and they'll get marked down for that.
And you've seen that happen?
It's happened to me.
Really? Yeah. I'm not pushing you because I don't believe you. I just want people to hear it from your mouth, because sometimes people don't believe me because they're on the other side of the aisle and they're like, you know, oh yeah, of course, you still would say that. But I'm a little bit of the way through this tour now, and so many people have come to me and said, explained in a variety of different horrifying ways, the different means by which they are discriminated against for having conservative or even libertarian opinions, even being free speech fundamentalists, because that apparently, you know, is inherently racist because, you know, you hear this stuff about how, you know, well, free speech is fine, except, you know, because of the inherent structural privilege in society, certain marginalized voices need privileged platforms, or, you know, free speech is unfair to whatever. It's very, very worrying that we have redefined things like racism and sexism. And now that the left is saying that free speech is a sort of engine of conservatism. Isn't it remarkable that after, you know, the campus radicals of the 1950s and 60s, and even through as recently as the 80s, now being a conservative on campus is the punk thing to do, and standing up for free speech is a conservative thing to do. Do you find that strange?
I do. And I'm still shocked about stuff like that even today after 2 years on a campus like UC Irvine.
You start to get used to it.
No, I mean, a little bit, but some of the things still shocks me. Like the Muslim Student Union on our campus, they recently protested very angrily a Jewish event. And after that event, the college Republicans, of course, were involved in watching the protests and sort of showing our discontent for what they were doing. But after that, they said that civility is a pillar of white oppression. And when provoked, they must act out. They must be uncivil.
I've seen stuff like this, and even, these silly feminist blogs who say that correct grammar is an expression of cishet white male patriarchal oppression because, people should be able to express themselves however they want, and women of color haven't had access to educational opportunities. It's like, just fucking learn to spell.
Seriously.
And the people saying it were, have been to Brandeis and Cornell. It's like, what are you talking about?
Well, especially at a university where you're here to get a higher education. You're here to make yourself smarter, essentially. And in the most basic form, to make yourself smarter. And if you can't spell properly, I mean, what is that? You're supposed to be held to the same standard as everybody else, the same standard of excellence, as UC Irvine would put it. But that's not the case.
Yeah, it's very worrying. When we come back after the break, I want to ask you a little bit more about the unfairness kind of baked into the system at UC Irvine specifically, and how you've dealt with the authorities there. And then I want to talk to you on a very fun subject. I want to talk to you about what we have planned.
Oh,
and
goody.
Our burgeoning plotting that we have been discussing this afternoon from this is a nice hotel room, actually. It's a good one. This is better than the one I was on last time. I had Dave Rubin on the show a few weeks ago, and he was in a pokey little hotel somewhere. But we're in a luxurious suite in West Hollywood.
Only the best for me.
Of course. I actually had them upgrade the room because I knew you were coming. We will be back after these messages. This week, the Milo Yiannopoulos show is also brought to you by Audible. Now, normally when they make you do these ads, they make you tell fibs. They make you say, "Oh, have you been using this product for ages? And I love it, and it's wonderful." It's a sort of polite fiction used in American advertising, which horrifies Europeans like me. But in this case, I don't need to lie because I am, in fact, an Audible customer, and I do like it. I particularly like the quadruple speed thing because it makes everybody sound idiotic. With Audible, you don't have to put a book down when it hooks you just because you have to drive to work or go work out at the gym or whatever. So you should get involved with Audible and discover where audiobooks can take you. I signed up a little while ago. My current favorite book, because of course it is the playbook for the insane social justice left, the authoritarian, pearl-clutching nannies of the campus radical police, is of course George Orwell's 1984, a cautionary tale about the dangers of a globalist society. And with Audible, of course, I can listen to bits of it wherever I like. You probably know that in 1984, Newspeak is a language invented by a dystopian now we call it Orwellian, don't we? Now, an Orwellian dystopian government to control thought, because that the party believes that if you control language, you can control thought. This is a terrifying portent of what is to come if the left gets the world they want. But the good news is that is basically nonsense, because you can't really do that. People have a habit of defying restrictions like that and nudging the Overton window back out again. But anyway, I like to remind myself of the potential horrors of 1984, listening to 1984, whether I'm being driven to a speaking engagement by my driver, writing fabulous witty pieces for Breitbart, or just messing around on Twitter. You can download your books or shows to your mobile device, that is to say, anytime, anywhere. And with an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news and comedy, Audible is the best source for your everyday entertainment. The app makes listening a breeze with features like chapter navigation and narration speed control, and you can even share your favorite audio excerpts with friends. A bit like Kindle when you select the bit that you like and you can send it to people. Audible members have access to original audio shows, short stories, ad-free podcasts, news, comedy, and more. Access your books and shows anytime, anywhere, right from your smartphone or tablet. And if you join Audible today and explore the world's leading provider of audiobooks, all, of course, beautifully performed by talented actors and narrators, none of them with quite such mellifluous and stunning easy listening voices as I have, but I'm sure almost as good. You can join and start a 30-day trial. Download your first audiobook for free by going to audible.com/Milo to get started. That's audible.com/Milo for a free 30-day trial and an audiobook. Once again this week, the Milo Yiannopoulos show is brought to you by TrueCar. who'd like to remind you that making an impression is all about contrast, which is why I like to listen to gangster rap in the morning and Wagner in the afternoon. I wear Louis Vuitton, but sadly smoke Newports. Claridge's for lunch, KFC for supper. My trainer is hopefully not listening to this. TrueCar would like to remind you to ask you the question, why spend tens of thousands on a fancy car when you can make just as much of an impression from stepping out of a used Toyota in Gucci sunglasses and a three-piece Savile Row suit? I'm still not completely convinced about that, but we're going to go with it. Pricing information is great and necessary, but there is more to buying a car than just price. There's the actual buying experience. To enjoy a better one, you have to go to a TrueCar certified dealer. They're there to help you find the car you want, and they are what make TrueCar unique. Because with TrueCar, you can connect with a local certified dealer of your choosing, so you can lock in guaranteed savings from the manufacturer's suggested retail price. See, aren't you proud that I now know what MSRP means? And enjoy a better buying experience. Regular listeners will be chortling along at my stupidity. TrueCar customers are more likely to enjoy a faster buying process when they connect with TrueCar certified dealers. Over 2 million cars have been sold to TrueCar users by the TrueCar certified dealer network, and there are over 11,000 TrueCar certified dealers nationwide, so sure to be something near you. You will work directly with the TrueCar certified dealer contact, and TrueCar users save an average of $3,279 off the MSRP, which is approximately equal to what I spend on dinner on a Friday night. And using the TrueCar website or the TrueCar app, you can easily find the car you want. So when you're ready to buy a new or a used car, visit TrueCar.com or download the TrueCar app to enjoy a better car buying experience. Some features are not available in all states.
Hi everyone, this is Adam Baldwin of Firefly, Full Metal Jacket, The Last Ship, Mass Effect, and hell guys, it's easier to make a list of cool stuff I'm not in. You're listening to The Milo Yiannopoulos Show on Podcast One.
We are back. I am recording this before I record the ad, so I have no idea what I just tried to sell you, but you should probably buy it. Right, I'm here with Ariana Rowlands, who is the president of the College Republicans at UC Irvine, where all hell has been breaking loose, as we heard before the break. Ariana, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about UC Irvine specifically. Mm-hmm. Well, two things I want to know, really. Talk to me about the sort of the tenor and the atmosphere on campus and how hostile you find it or otherwise to conservative points of view. Because I know it has particular demographic specifics to that university that are not the case everywhere. And then I want you to tell me, because a lot of people are going to be asking, having a think over the break, and they'll be like, well, okay, fine, I know you think you're treated unfairly. Can you give me an example of any specifics in what we've been talking about, sort of other societies that haven't been held to the same standards as you? And just sort of wrap all of that up in a your thoughts about how it is to be a conservative, specifically at UC Irvine. How does the system make you feel, and how do the professors and the administrators make you feel, and how do they treat you differently?
Most of the people on UC Irvine are self-identified liberals or self-identified socialists. So you'd think that from the tolerant left that they would be a little bit kinder to other people, but that's really not the case. On campus frequently, even just last week, I was walking around with my officers and somebody behind me goes, "Oh, the college Republicans." And we just turn around and, quickly walk the other direction. But most of the time, on college campuses, there's not really much proof of discrimination or anger against a certain specific group. But that's not the case here at UC Irvine, where they actually went into our records and looked, oh, well, they didn't provide a security insurance certificate.
Right. This was their bit of small print. Their a bit of fine print to try and catch you out. They took them 4 hours to get you on something.
Something, yes. And another attorney who had been looking into Students for Justice in Palestine, which is the sister club of Muslim Student Union, gave me their records that she'd requested from a Public Records Act. Mm-hmm. And in that, there was about 7 or so contractual infractions over the past 5 years, not one of which was punished. So,
I see. So you got this from the lawyer, and this is a clear example of them holding you to different standards to those that they held an organization on the left to.
Yeah, it's a very clear example. They were funded by the school, which college Republicans at UC Irvine were not essentially not. No. Each club is allowed $10,000 every year. They're allowed to ask for $10,000. Yeah. So college Republicans asked for $1,250 for you. Yeah. And in the end, we received $181 from the school. Okay. Meanwhile, the Muslim Student Union requested the $10,000 to host their anti-Semitic, anti-Israel events, and received the full $10,000 from the school.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
The college Republicans, the organization on campus that represents 50% of voters, that represents, half the population, and an entire, half of the political public arena got $181.
181.
That's amazing. Do they ever give you an explanation? Do they ever sort of try to come up with a reason, or do
No,
they
I haven't received any communication from the police yet. I haven't even claimed it because I think it's an insult.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. You can hear the balls, right? You're like, I haven't claimed. I think it's an insult. and you also, I kind of talked over you a minute ago, and you were explaining in the first half, you refused to file the appeal because you felt that would be an acknowledgement of the charges, which you completely rejected. It wasn't even admission of guilt, it was just acknowledgement of the charges, which you completely refused. You refused to engage in the process whatsoever, and merely told your story to people who wanted to listen, and forced the university, through shaming them in their hypocrisy, to reversing this politically motivated decision. I think it's amazing. I think, I should give yourself a round of applause.
Thank you. But yeah, we're not going to play ball with them, especially when they're trying to be so slippery, as you said before. There's no way that...
It's underhanded, isn't it?
It is.
It's pathetic. And I think people don't talk to each other. They don't know. They think there isn't a media out there desperate to report on this stuff. I mean, what's wrong with these people?
Well, I'm not sure why they definitely didn't handle it very well. I mean, they waited 4 hours instead of waiting a week. If they were smart, that's what they would have done. They would have waited a week. Right. But no, 4 hours.
Or until July, when your renewal comes up, the next time you try to book a room, say, well, actually, you didn't follow the rules last year. And then by that time, it would all have been gone. There would have been no excitement about it in the media. There would have been no sort of head of steam still on campus. Nobody would have cared.
Well, we're giving them tips now.
Yes, if you're a university administrator, switch the program off now. No, you know what? I don't mind telling them how to do this better, because they're so dumb we're going to win anyway.
They're not going to listen to you anyway.
They're not going to listen, and they're so stupid that that even if they do this, they'll slip up some other ways. I never mind telling people I'm going to beat them before I beat them, because they're never clever enough to win on this stuff. All right. Let's get to the fun bit of the conversation. Ooh. This is what everybody has tuned in for, because by the time you listen to this, I will have been tweeting incessantly and to an irritating degree.
Irritating.
More even so than usual. Oh, you're wonderful on Twitter, by the way. Tell people your Twitter handle.
I am Queen Ari.
I am Queen Ari. So you should follow her, not just because she spends most of the day praising me. And,
I do.
And we spend all of our time throwing sassy and adorable compliments at one another, but also because she is in her own right wonderfully defiant and mischievous. So you should follow her. But what I was going to ask you about is what we have planned for the future. Now, obviously, ordinarily, in these circumstances, I would have put my tail between my legs and run a mile, suitably admonished and beaten down after the evil and oppressive actions of the university. But you have persuaded me to overcome my natural shyness and diffidence. You have persuaded me to overlook my usual
so difficult
self-effacing character personality, my usual instinct to back away from a fight. And you have persuaded me to teach the college a lesson.
I bribed you.
Yeah, we can't talk about that.
Oh, okay.
You have persuaded me to help teach the college a lesson. Mm-hmm. If they hadn't done this, I would have moved on. I would probably not have come back to UC Irvine, except, of course, to see you. Maybe for a year or two, maybe ever, I'd been to that college. I would have had no motivation to come back. But because of what they did to you, I have been persuaded that it might be a good idea to return. And so return I shall. Why don't you tell listeners a little bit about what we have planned? Obviously, everything is still up for discussion, including the exact date, which we're locking down at the moment with my tour manager, Tim. We have a lot up in the air, but give us the broad contours of what you have in mind.
So we are going to have you back a little bit before the November elections, and we're going to have you lead a rally for the Republican Party. And it's going to be huge, as Donald Trump would say.
Are you a Trump supporter, by the way?
I'm a huge Trump supporter.
Oh, thank God. I thought you must be. I don't know. I hadn't ever actually asked you this, but you can always tell when somebody is funny, smart, has just the right amount of sass, and doesn't take no for an answer. You can kind of tell they're going to be a daddy person. So
we're going to have you back. Yeah, it's going to be a big rally. It's going to be huge. It's going to be in the middle of the park at UC Irvine, and there's going to be, at least 5,000 can fit in that park. So We're going to have that many people there, all ready to see you. We had 1,000 last time, and
they just couldn't get in.
They just couldn't get in.
So now we have huge lead time. Mm-hmm. All of the press that's been around this event is going to be open to the public. We're going to have a big rally. The capacity unlike anything I've done on the tour before, but it's California, so I'm not too worried about filling that space. Are you?
No, not at all. I think that, we only had about a month to promote your event last time, and we got 1,000 people to turn out.
Now it's the election.
And now it's the election.
Everybody wants to know about politics. We're going to talk about,
and everybody wants to see you, especially the young people. You have a talent.
Stop it.
You have a talent. It's a unique talent.
Stop it. I'm going red.
To get young people involved in politics. There's people at UC Irvine is mostly a politically apathetic campus. Mm-hmm. And when you came, everyone on campus knew about you. Whether it was good, it was bad, they were paying attention. Mm-hmm. And you evoked an emotional reaction which formed an opinion. And that is something that we want to do.
It's so important just for people to have the discussion, people just to have the debate about whatever it is, whether it's social justice, social issues, or more importantly, politics more broadly, just to start talking about politics with their friends is interesting and useful. And I'm not even a hugely political person. I like culture and, I like gender and race stuff. I like culture, and it all feeds into politics, of course. But just having people enjoy real conversations that they might otherwise have been too afraid to have for fear of expressing conservative opinions, or because they just assumed everybody else agreed with them, is a wonderful thing. Now, it's not my natural inclination to needlessly and gratuitously antagonize people, but UC Irvine does have a particularly large Muslim student body.
That is correct. It's the largest in any Californian school.
And I have recently been speaking quite a lot about the structural problems between Islam and gay people, and some of the butting of heads, to put it mildly, in the wake of Orlando that can happen when the left insists on immigration, multiculturalism, says that all minorities are oppressed people who should be hating straight white males and all loving each other and getting on with each other, and creating, these bizarre absurdities like Queers for Palestine. Which is, they are the stupidest people in America.
It's like Jews for Nazis.
No, it's literally like Jews for the re-establishment of the Third Reich. I mean, 97%. No, you know what? I keep saying 97. It's actually 96. Not that it makes much difference, but I like to be accurate. 96% of Palestinians think homosexuality is an unacceptable lifestyle choice. And you've got these aging idiots on the streets of San Francisco. I mean, we're all oppressed. We've all got to stick together. Idiots. Anyway, I have in mind that I'm going to give a talk about this, as I did at Orlando to great fanfare, and it's going to be lighthearted in places and funny, and it's going to be interesting and thought-provoking. And I hope that the results of this are, some people are not going to like it very much, and that's okay. But I want to stand up as a gay person and give my perspective on, what happens. And really this talk is directed at the left, the political left. It's not directed at Muslim students. It's not directed at Muslims or Islam at all, really. It's directed at the left, and it's asking them why they insist on thrusting people together who in some cases don't belong together, why they endlessly pander to and mollycoddle radical Islam, make excuses for terror, which they do, why they deny gay people the right to protect themselves and to be adequately informed and armed, literally, against threats that may occur to them by insisting on gun-free zones, which I like to think of as safe spaces for killers. They are places where if you are a maniac, you can go and you can mow down people safe in the knowledge that it's going to be at least half an hour before anybody gets there to stop you. And they insist on more gun control. Why these idiotic celebrities and brain-dead commentators and barking mad politicians don't seem to care about the threats to the minorities they always say that they're there to look after. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and I hope it's going to be a very thoughtful talk. I'm going to try and bring as many statistics and facts and, sincerity to it as I can. Some people aren't going to like that it's even happening at all, but that's the plan. And I think it's going to be one of the highlights of the tour, particularly given the scale of it.
Oh, I think it'll be the greatest thing in the tour, of course.
Well, if you are involved at all, then it will, I'm sure, be the pinnacle of my career achievement. And there may or may not, we're going to discuss this, be a costume element involved.
Oh, there will. There will be.
Well, my team is trying to, look, I may as well just say it because I've tweeted it already. My team is trying to persuade me to wear a burqa mini dress.
It won't be that hard.
No, I think I'm down. I think I'm down. I got some nice, I'm going to have to go to a drag queen store because I've size 10.5 feet. So I need big stilettos, some big black high heels, nice 6 inches.
You're going to die. I'm going to tell you that.
On the heels?
Yeah, the
Will
heels.
You teach me how to walk?
I will. We can have a little lesson day.
Well, maybe I could get a litter like I had at Santa Barbara. I could just get carried on, But the litter could be decorated with depictions of, I don't know, explosives or something, and I could come on in a burqa mini dress with fishnet tights and high heels and big Nicole Richie Dior sunglasses.
You can make it like a mini Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I might even sing a song or something. I could sing the national anthem in the burqa mini dress, because they hate music, don't they? You know, I can't promise to give my entire talk in a burqa because they're very hot. Have you ever been in one? Have you ever worn one?
I have never. No.
No, well, I have, but only.
What have you been doing?
Well, only in the privacy of my own home, you understand.
Yes.
That's where we're going to leave it. But no, I have, and they are so hot. Like, I don't understand how women in the Middle East like live under these things, like the blazing sun. It's remarkable to me, which is why I'm going to do the mini dress and not
the full thing.
Anyway, you can search my Twitter feed if you are anxious to see how that might look. And yeah, I think it's going to be fun, don't you?
Oh, I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And I think that in the left's quest to be politically correct, they put in danger the very people that they're trying to protect.
Yes, I think we've seen that in Orlando. And I think that this is going to be a lovely, camp, ridiculous, fabulous, fun, but also fact-based
and informative.
Informative as well as entertaining. Informative
and
exploration
educational
of issues that nobody else wants to talk about.
Nobody else wants to talk about, and the university won't allow anyone to talk about.
Well, as I said to Fox when they interviewed me a few days ago, and of course in all the Breitbart coverage we've done, UC Irvine is about to be made a free speech paradise, whether the university administrators like it or not. And that is mostly down to my guest, Ariana Rowlands from the College Republicans. What do you hope, before we go, that the university takes away from all of this? What lesson do you hope they learn from this? Because, you know, as we said, this wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have done this big talk. And it's not like we're doing it out of spite. We're doing it because there's public demand for it. You know, people want this. I might not have been persuaded to do it if they hadn't mistreated you so badly. You know, I got to look after my sister here. You know, what do you hope they take away from this?
That we cannot be silenced, and we will not be silenced. And if they try to silence us, to censor us for something as inherent as political beliefs or just an opinion, we will fight them and we will win. And we will keep winning every time they try to do that, because the truth,
we're going to keep winning. You're going to come to me and you're going to say,
Ariana,
please, Mr. Trump, please, Mrs. Rowlands, you have to stop winning. We're tired of you winning. Please, no more winning from the UC Irvine College Republicans. And what are you going to say? You're going to say, I'm sorry. We're going to keep winning until you're sick of it.
Even then some.
I think that's a good place to end it. Thank you so much, Ariana, for joining me.
Thank you, Milo.
Hugely good fun. And when you, in a couple of years' time, are rocketing to the top of the American political establishment, running for whatever office it is you choose to go for, or whatever else it is you do in your life, I hope you will remember the humble Milo Yiannopoulos and come back on the show sometime.
Incredibly humble Milo Yiannopoulos. I will always remember.
I'm the most humble. I'm the best at being humble. Humility is the best thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.